Yeah.
Good evening. Welcome back to After Dark. I'm Nic Pegg. As you know, we're going to be speaking to lots of candidates with the elections coming up. We've already spoken to a few, and joining me on the line now is the Electoral Officer for Christchurch City Council, Jo Daly. Good evening to you.
Hi, Nick.
Did I get your title correct then?
Yes, I'm the Electoral Officer for Christchurch City Council.
Oh, what does this role involve?
Well, it's an independent position appointed by the council, and so I'm responsible for the running and the management of the elections.
Now, there are some quite serious legal issues around your role and rules that the candidates have to stick to.
There certainly are.
And are you basically in charge of policing that?
Yes, that's part of my role.
Okay, right. Let's have a look at the different phases of the election. How about enrolment?
Right, so enrolment sort of relates mainly to the and being on the electoral roll. Candidates and voters all need to be on the electoral roll to be able to take part in the elections. So there's a campaign underway at the moment, and we're working in partnership with the Electoral Commission. Everybody should have received something, or everybody on the roll received something in their letterboxes over the last few weeks, just confirming their details. And if they haven't, they should get in touch with the Electoral Commission. They've got a new website, vote.nz, or an 0800 number that anyone can ring to check that they are on the roll.
How do you feel about the idea of compulsory voting?
I've kind of got a foot in each camp, if I'm completely honest. I think we probably still have a bit of challenge in New Zealand with getting everybody on the roll, which we are required to be if we're a citizen or a resident. So I'm not sure how supportive I feel of compulsory voting. I'd really like people to be informed enough so that they want to vote.
Can we just roll back there? I think I heard you say that we're required to be on the roll. Is that a legal requirement? Or?
Yes, well, it's a requirement from the Electoral Commission, so I guess it's a government requirement.
So is that an ideal or is that a law?
I have to be honest with you, Nick. That's the statement that I make, that we're required to be on the roll, but I couldn't point you towards a particular part of legislation.
The wizard rowing out on his boat to avoid the census, comes to mind there. Right. So we've got people need to be on the roll, and of course the people who are going to be elected need to be on the roll. Are there any rules around who can stand?
Yes, well, to stand you need to be a New Zealand citizen and you need to be on the electoral roll. So you need to be over 18 to be on the electoral roll. So New Zealand citizen and on the electoral roll, and you can be anywhere in the country, but the people that nominate you must be in the area that you're standing in. For example, in Christchurch, if you're standing as the mayor, needs to be someone in Christchurch City, but if you're standing for the Hornby ward for council, it's two people on the Hornby ward electoral roll.
So the qualification of being nominated by somebody, that the people who do the nominating have to live in the ward that's going to be represented.
Yeah, they have to be on the residential electoral roll in that area.
What about
that's a big thing, Nick, actually. A number of candidates will come in over the time, and for some reason one of their nominators isn't on the roll or on the roll in another address, and so it can actually cause a delay with processing a nomination.
I'm speaking with Jo Daly. She's the Electoral Officer for Christchurch City Council. When do the nominations open and close?
Nominations opened on the 19th of July and they close at noon on Friday the 16th of August.
Okay, what about the actual vote itself? Do we have postal votes, and do we have online voting yet?
No, this election's postal vote. There's been quite a lot of work happening nationally with regard to online voting and modernising of voting opportunities, but unfortunately it wasn't a viable option for this election. So it's postal voting. Votes will be posted out to people on the electoral roll from around the 20th of September. And anybody who hasn't received their papers by the 25th of September can request a special vote. So that's by getting in touch with me through the council, through our website. And voting papers all need to be back by 12 noon on Saturday the 12th of October.
Now, one of my producers just, well, in fact, the only one who's here this evening, just put up a picture of a vote sign with "Vote This Way." But of course, it's not like the general election where you go to a voting station. It's all postal, isn't it?
It is postal. If people don't receive their votes, or for whatever reason spoil them, then we're going to have, I think, 7 locations in Christchurch where they can get special votes issued to them, and they can vote then and there, or they can take them away and post them. So we're doing everything we can to make it as straightforward as for people who don't receive their votes or aren't able to use them for whatever reason to be able to vote.
Now, apart from listening to After Dark and the interviews that we do, how do people find out, the voters, how do they find out about the candidates?
That's a great question. Well, every candidate has the opportunity to provide 150 words candidate profile statement that will come out with your voting papers and a candidate booklet. The council also will put all that information on our website in a format so it's accessible with regard to people that might have different needs and programs. We've also got an app which has just been updated for 2019 called C Elect. So that's the letter C and elect. And again, we will have the candidate's profile statements, any photos they provide. And it's also got a sort of, what's the right thing, a function on it where you can enter your address and find out what ward you're in and who you can vote for. So that people who might not, necessarily realise they're in the coastal ward, for example, can enter their address. Once the candidate data is there, which won't be till September, they can see who they can vote for Christchurch City Council, for Environment Canterbury, and for the Canterbury District Health Board.
What are the rules around about who can stand for what? Because I understand it's possible to be a city councillor and a member of the District Health Board.
That's right. You can stand for the City Council and the District Health Board, or the Regional Council and the District Health Board, but you cannot stand for the City Council, and that's any position within the City Council, mayor, councillor or community board member, and the Regional Council. So it's or territorial authority or regional council.
Why are councillors or e-councillors, regional councillors, allowed to sit on the District Health Board? I mean, both positions are really quite well paid, and I don't know that division of attention is necessarily a good thing.
Well, the legislation allows it. So, that's probably actually a really good question for, perhaps some candidates that are considering doing that.
Yes, and of course it's not your job to pass an opinion on it, which is fair enough. Now, what about the importance of voting? I mean, historically, local elections can have quite poor turnouts, can't they?
Yes, they have, and in Christchurch, the average turnout was 38% in 2016. So we're doing our best to raise awareness of why people should vote, what the council does for them. And obviously, there's the Christchurch City Council, the Regional Council, Environment Canterbury, and the District Health Board. So the decisions they make in September or October decide who makes those decisions for us. So trying to make people aware and do our best to let people know where they can get some information.
It seems to me that the people who are standing in the community board, it's quite likely that people who do actually bother to vote will have some knowledge of that person through these small community papers like Edgware News or the free papers or the Star or the Press or what have you. They're quite likely to have some knowledge of the people who are standing for council. But when it comes to the District Health Board and ECAN, quite often people are kind of looking at the voting paper on the day and basically throwing a dart at it.
Well, again, one of the reasons we've extended C-Elect this time is so that it is a little bit easier for people to see the information for the DHB and the ECAN as well as the City Council. But the candidates for both those elections also get the opportunity to do their profile, and I'm certainly aware of some of them who are out there doing their campaigning, door knocking already.
What about the legal issues around day of election? Is it a bit like the general election where any hoardings or signage have to be taken down?
Well, the rules for this election is that election hoardings, for want of a better term, and signage needs to be down midnight on Friday the 11th of October. So the same as the general election.
But something like an interview that we've done and we've posted on Facebook or on YouTube, that's okay, that can stay up.
That's an interview. That's not the candidates campaigning, and it's not signage. So, and all candidate advertising should be having an authorisation statement saying who's doing it. So I think your interviews are different to that. They're community informing community, isn't it?
Well, just to finish up, Jo, first of all, thank you very much for joining us this evening, explaining your role. What do you do after the election? If somebody's breached the rules, are you involved in the investigation of that?
I'll be involved in some of the investigation, and then it becomes a police matter if somebody has broken the legislation.
Yeah, so that's quite serious stuff. Jo Daly, Electoral Officer for Christchurch City Council, thanks for joining us here on After Dark.
Thanks, Nick. Thanks for the opportunity.
My pleasure. Thank you.